time for A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele on Bow Radio.
Hey up, it's A Wee Natter. I'm Mark Steele, and across the table from me is
Jenny Steele.
And we are joining you on the week that we found out coffee prices have gone up by a third since 2021.
Have they?
Is that enough to stop you buying your fancy latte?
No, not at all. Sorry.
Yeah, I've stopped buying them.
But bad me own now, you won't buy them anymore for me.
No, but then I never bought them in the first place, if I'm completely honest with you. And it also, being the 20th of April, it is Ed Balls Day.
Ooh.
Do you know what Ed Balls Day is?
No.
It's when Ed Balls went on Twitter and typed Ed Balls in.
Oh, right.
And that was his tweet. It's just his own name, Ed Balls.
I might do that.
It's like he didn't understand Twitter or something.
Yeah.
I assume it was a mistake that he was making. But it's a very political joke, that one. Talking about Ed Balls. And on the political front, we have two, not one, but two of the East Midlands Mayor candidates have stopped by for a wee natter, and you'll be hearing from them later. And talking of correspondence, we'd like to hear your correspondence as well. And last week we asked, what do you love but you're not very good at?
We've heard from Margaret even, Gwilym. She loves running, but she says she's not very good or fast at it. But she has just ran the London Marathon last weekend and is super proud of herself. I think I would be as well.
I set myself up, signed up for the Nottingham Half Marathon a couple of years back and got an injury the week before.
Yeah.
And I'd managed to get to about 11 miles, so I wasn't far off the half marathon distance. And then since then, I've just poured on all the weight and got very lazy, so it hasn't worked out.
Sam Killip's also been in touch. Now, Sam says he enjoys explaining things he's passionate about to people, but he says he doesn't think he's very good at it. I reckon he will be. My only measurement for this is if he doesn't make the person or people he's talking to feel passionate and interested about the subject, then he thinks he's failed.
I think you might be onto something there. I've seen people that work like that. It's like, I really love X, Y, or Z. And it could be video games, it could be whatever. And if the other person is like, I don't care for that stuff, it's not my cup of tea, they just look totally disheartened. It's great to see that level of passion and joy in someone.
Yes, yeah.
But sometimes there's that misunderstanding about whether other people have that same level of passion and joy. Also in touch, Monica Eriksson saying, despite not being very good at dancing, I love doing it once or twice a week at home. Apart from being a great form of exercise, it's also viewed as a tribute to life. And in my case, it's a tribute to chaos theory. Because there's no coordination whatsoever. And we've also got Nancy in touch saying, my answer to the question is vegetable gardening, which means we've got to play this. You recognise this TV theme tune? It's Ground Force.
That's it.
Although she's also got some questions about gardening, and I think that this might be the wrong audience for that. We're not exactly Beech Grove Garden.
I don't know, I love a bit of gardening.
But that's the thing, she used to be very good at it, but since she moved to Texas, not had very much luck. The soil where they live is all clay. They've tried rototiling and mulch, that didn't work. They tried raised beds, also tried new mulch every year, and usually buy baby vegetable plants. And at the local nursery and set them out in great hopes. So you buy a plant, you put it there. I guess it's a bit like me. You'll feed it, you'll water it, and it'll die.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, it will die. And she's also saying occasionally she'll apply fertiliser via, the spray you get got on the end of your hose. Yeah. She does a bit of that, doesn't work. Try some green beans and jalapeno peppers, nothing. Got beautiful plants, not a single fruit.
Oh.
So no idea what's going on there. Also planted some flowers to attract bees. They didn't survive either. I think I see a common theme here.
Yeah.
And it's not just Texas. That's all I'm saying. I just sometimes see, she's got other things going on. She sometimes sees them in autumn amongst the wild garlic, but nothing in the spring and summer, just a ton of wasps and fire ants.
Oh my word, what's a fire ant?
It's the sort of ant that you do not want to get on you because it burns.
Ooh.
That's how it gets its name. It burns like fire.
It's not an ant carrying a machete or something.
No. And the ant isn't literally on fire anyway. She's saying they're about to give up, but her husband brought home and planted more vegetables a few weeks ago. This time they planted blue marigolds amongst the plants, but not sure that'll help. What plants does she need to plant to attract the bees? And the honest answer is I don't know. Because I survived less than one day in my uncle's gardening business because I couldn't cut in a straight line. I couldn't plant anything in the ground for love nor money.
Lavender.
I didn't. By about lunchtime, you'd already kicked me out. I didn't make it to the end of the day. So on that note, we'd suggest you get in touch with someone else, but do stay with us for a wee natter. We're playing the Culture Club Church of the Poison Mind. was about to say it's a bit of Culture Club, but it's the whole of Culture Club, isn't it?
Culture Club.
Church of the Boys 9, it's a wee natter on Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. And this is going to date us a little bit, but do you remember the Generation game?
Yes.
What do you remember most about it?
Is it where you have to say, cuddly toy, the conveyor belt thing?
Yeah, the conveyor belt at the end, when you had all the prizes, and there was always a cuddly toy.
There was always a cuddly
toy.
toy.
Everyone had to say cuddly toy. And on the topic of cuddly toys, kids sleep with them all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit of comfort, it puts them to bed, and then, you know, it's less fight than just taken away from them.
Yeah.
Which makes it sound cruel, doesn't it?
Still got mine.
Do you?
Yeah. It's called Sooty.
Oh. You sleep with your cat. Is that what you're saying? Oh dear. But as adults, somebody's done a bit of research. How many of us do you think sleep with cuddly toys?
I'm going to say, I think it's going to be something like 30 to 40%.
You're almost spot on. 34%.
Oh, wow.
No, really, seriously. Do you personally sleep with any cuddly toys?
I've got them on top of the bed.
You don't have them in the bed?
No.
I don't know if that would count.
I've got the cat. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't anymore, but I used to have a rabbit when I was really young. Well, I think it is anyway. I only
I'm not sure.
It's not like I'm remembering from that. I'm remembering from vaguely seeing photos that my parents have got. I don't remember actually having the cuddly toy.
And it looked like a rabbit. They might still have it in the attic or something.
I very much doubt it. They've moved house many times. I think it's long gone. But I will tell you that sleeping without a pillow, never mind a cuddly toy, sleeping without a pillow, almost impossible.
Yeah.
And that's from somebody who slept in a tent next to an active airfield.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open this one up to you, dear listener. What is your bedtime companion? And I'm not talking about people here. Are you going to confess to sleeping with a cuddly toy? I would love to hear about it on the phone. 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 4900, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell us about your fluffy little friends. When's the last time you heard of The Wanted? Walks Like Rihanna, and before that, Dua Lipa, Hotter Than Hell. It's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2, where I love the fact that you, dear listener, are experts in all sorts of weird, wonderful things, including the horticultural, you know, the plant green fingery type stuff. Sandra owns me in touch saying plants that bees like include lavender, verbena, foxgloves, and geraniums as well.
Excellent.
I couldn't identify those plants if you told me about them.
I think you'll find that I put some in our back garden, Mark. I'm wasted, I'll tell you, wasted. Just been chatting to one of my colleagues that I used to do hospital radio with, and unfortunately his mum's having a bit of a stay in hospital at the minute. Anyway, he's just got on the wards, and apparently they're listening to hospital radio. Do you know, I've told him they need to get A Wee Natter on. They really do.
Is this you trying to expand your empire?
Yeah, I told him to go round and just fidget with all the dials on all the equipment and switch it to A Wee Natter. They'll love it.
You've got to be a bit careful in hospitals because there are all sorts of other dials. If you start touching the wrong ones, you'll get an appearance in East Midlands today.
Covers versus originals.
Yes, this is the bit where we put you, yes, you, dear listener, in charge of the music in covers versus originals. And this week, the choice is about the song Live and Let Die. Do you want to hear the cover from Guns N' Roses? Or do you want to hear the original from Wings? I want to hear from you. Get in touch on the phone 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 4900, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell us which version of Live and Let Die would you rather hear, Wings or Guns N' Roses? It's up to you. It's such a weird thing to say, isn't it? I really like it when you speak like a child. But still a catchy wee song from the Style Council.
Covers versus originals.
Yes, indeed, today we are doing Live and Let Die, that classic Bond theme, which you can either have from Wings or you can have the cover from Guns N' Roses. Pond Life has been asking for Guns N' Roses. Sandra Owen is asking for Guns N' Roses.
Cheryl Warner is asking for Wings. She says it's her favourite James Bond film.
Oh, it's pretty even pegging on the votes.
Even pegging. The other thing, talking about Generation Game, Cheryl's come back. She says she loved the Generation Game when she was younger and she preferred Larry Grayson as the presenter. Is he the one, Cheryl, that said, "Oh, Everard, shut that door"? I'm sure that was Larry Grayson.
I will take your word for it.
Tell me, Cheryl.
And on that note, there is still time for you to get your pick, get your vote in. Would you prefer to hear Wings or Guns N' Roses? Get on the phone 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 4900, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and pick which version of Live and Let Die is going to pay in just a moment. DNCA are having Cake by the Ocean. It's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio too, where a little while ago we were asking about your cuddly friends that you take to bed. And we're talking about stuffed toys, not people, by the way.
And Ellie Merritt's been in touch, and she has the Aldi toys, and they're really funny. Wicked Parsnip and Kevin the Carrot. They're not actually on the bed, but they sit on the shelf above the bed watching them sleep.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah. You know that song, Cake by the Ocean?
Yeah.
I keep hoping there's going to be cake in the studio. It's never happened yet.
You've never asked for it, that's why.
I'm asking now.
Well, we'll see what we can get hold of, although it is after 4 o'clock on a Sunday in England, sure. The chance of a shop being open are somewhere around zero.
Bow Radio would like to thank all our sponsors. We couldn't be here without you.
Indeed, we have to give special thanks to Property Jane Check Mansfield, Ollerton and Booton Town Council, Arnold Clark Cars, Edwinstowe Parish Council, Essential Site Skills Limited, Notts County Council, Willesby Parish Council, Workshop Freemasons, ABIB Motors Tuxford, and Sherwood Grange Care Centre.
Covers versus originals.
Indeed, this is the part of the show that we put you in charge of. Right around 7:30. We do it every Sunday. You get to pick between the cover and the original. And today it was Live and Let Die. We were doing the cover, Guns N' Roses versus Wings. And it has come down to a single vote.
Ooh.
And as much as I'm a rockhead and I would like to override it and go for Guns N' Roses, we instead are going for the original from Wings. And of course that classic Bond film. As chosen by you, it's Paul McCartney and Wings' version of Live and Let Die. You've got a comment on that, haven't you?
Yeah, Cheryl says thanks very much for playing that version. It's made a day. I love that. It's made a day. We've made somebody's day.
Well, being a rockhead, the Guns N' Roses version might come up again in the future. Who knows? The world's a bit strange like that. And in case you've not noticed, we are getting a new mayor for the East Midlands.
Oh.
Supposedly a fourth layer of local government was the only way to get a bit more wonga. On that note, we've been in touch with a couple of the candidates. And on the line, I've got the independent... in the East Midlands Mayor elections, got Matt Relf. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I've got to ask the obvious question. Why do we need this new mayor and why do you think it should be you?
So, the big question as to why we're getting the mayor is a valid one, and I think none of us really asked for this position, but it's, I think, potentially needed because the MPs of the region have failed to shout about our region and really get the funding and investment that we so desperately need. And so this government has decided this devolution is the way forward, so it's coming whether we want it or not. But for me, I think I want to seize it as an opportunity, and I think having an independent mayor who's got the skills, the track record of being able to deliver all of the areas around transport and business investment and housing and so forth, that having somebody independent in that role who's free of influence from parties can lead to a much better representation of our area, because I'm free to agree with the national government when it's right to agree, but free to disagree. And I've not got any party leaders from London whispering into my ear as to what we should be doing in the area. I can just focus on what's right for the residents who live here.
No, fair enough. And let's imagine we're sitting at 4 or 5 years' time. You're successful. You have your shot as mayor. What's the thing you want to sit there and go? I did that. I'm most proud of that.
Well, there's various areas, but probably one primary area is transport. I think the state of our public transport system and the state of our roads is nowhere close to where any of us want it. And so one of the things that I want to be doing is I've spent 10 years of my career mobilising highways asset management contracts around the UK. I've seen how we can do it right. And so I want to support the 4 highways councils in the region with better investment in how they are going about doing the job, so that we aren't just constantly refilling the same potholes over and over again. We're putting the money instead into actually improving our roads properly so that they don't keep popping back up as potholes. So that's one area, so we can look back and say, OK, we can see a clear improvement in the roads. But also our public transport. I want a properly integrated network so that different providers and different modes of transport, from active travel to taxis to buses to trams to trains, all work as one network with then the technology so that people can plan their journey, see what the options are, and then actually make that journey be with one ticket across the whole lot. And don't worry, I'm not going to leave people behind who aren't adopting technology. We'll be making sure that this is available and open to everybody, regardless of where they're at with that.
So you're touching on the public transport issue here, and being in Sherwood, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Robin Hood line extension we've been promised for decades and decades now. Is that something that's on your agenda, and something you'd be looking to help get delivered?
Yes, well, I grew up in Mansfield at a time where it was the largest town in the UK with no railway station. I've always had an interest in all of this. I'm showing my age now, but my A-level geography project was all about the reopening of the Robin Hood line, the existing Robin Hood line.
Yeah.
And so I see opening up these available routes as a real key priority. I'm working on reopening the Maid Marian line as well in Ashfield that will help bring new route options across to Derby that would connect in with that Robin Hood line extension as well. So yes, I'm very keen to support that. But also for our more rural communities, I'm really keen to start doing more as well with on-demand bus services, so that rather than trying to have buses, constantly driving a predefined route that only picks up certain villages and at certain times of the day just driving around basically empty, we'll have smaller buses that we can know where there are passengers because they've booked on the system, and we can therefore reach villages and places that aren't currently serviced by public transport, so we can get more people using that.
So you're viewing the on-demand bus services, which we've already got a bit of in Nottinghamshire and seen them successful elsewhere. You're viewing that as an augmentation rather than a replacement?
Correct, yes. There's no one solution to transport because different areas and different types of destinations suit different forms of transport. For some people, an on-demand bus is going to be the right option. For some people, a train line that will take them further and faster will be the right option. But for others, the car will still always be the right option for them because of any specific mobility needs or the locations that they're wanting to go to, or purely their own personal convenient choice. Because we've seen the conversation around ULEZ of pricing people out of their cars coming up in this, and I'm not interested in doing that. I'm interested in giving a great public transport offering that people may choose to use and I would like them to use, but I'm never going to force people to use them.
One of the things I've got to ask you, you are standing as an independent candidate, but you have in the past been representative of Ashfield Independents. Are you standing completely separate from the party, and what's the relationship going forward with that?
So I'm currently a member of the Ashfield Independents with my district council role. However, my decision to run for the mayor was entirely my own. My campaign is being run by myself. The party are not involved in it, the party are not funding it, and if I am successful in being elected to the mayoral role, I will resign from the Ashfield Independent Party because it is an independent grouping that is only focused on one part of the region, and we do have independent groupings across the whole region, but I want to be representing the whole region and everybody regardless of parties. I mean, I work very well with politicians from all parties, and for this to work we need that partnership working, we need that bringing everybody together approach to work, and I've shown how I can do this. I've been involved in devolution right from the start, and I was elected by all the leaders of all the other councils in Nottinghamshire, the district and borough councils, regardless of whether they were Labour or Conservative. It was me that they voted in to be their representative on the Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire Local Enterprise Partnership Board that will be merging into the new combined authority. So I have a track record of working with other people very well.
Okay, and sort of building on that, at the end of the day, this is a very big patch the mayor will be covering, going from like Glossop on the outskirts of Manchester, just north of here, you're into like a workshop and things like that. It goes all the way down to Derby and Nottingham themselves. So what's your take on delivering a coherent plan across such a big and diverse area?
So it needs to be a mix of what are the big strategic investments, like improving the overall transport network, but also I want to make sure that I am utilising the locally elected, democratically elected representatives that we've got across this whole region who understand their areas best to be deciding on the things that need delivering for their areas, so that we can push out funds to the district and borough councils where there's districts and boroughs, to the city councils in the cities, patches of money so that they can decide what interventions are needed there, so we can make sure that the money that's coming with this is more fairly spread across the region, and the decisions about what is happening with it is made by the people who understand their areas best. I'm also not intending to create a central council office for this new combined authority. My intention is for people to be primarily working remotely, so that we can employ people across the entire region rather than people who just happen to live close to any chosen location. And then we will be having get-togethers where we need to have face-to-face meetings and discuss things, but we will go and do those at the various councils that are across the region. So we are making sure we are getting out to all corners of this region to understand what the challenges are.
I guess you kind of already answered this next question I got from one of our listeners that's looking for a bit of reassurance that the things that are good and excellent in various local patches, so whether it's, buses in Nottingham or, libraries in Derby, they're not going to be homogenised under your approach.
No, because, with things like libraries, they won't merge into the new combined authority. They will still be maintained by the current councils that look after them. But no, we need to recognise that there are solutions that work in dense urban areas and the solutions that are working in rural areas. And to try and consolidate all of that into one solution that works everywhere is impractical. So there are times where we need one solution for the entire region, but there are times where we need to be flexible for everywhere else as well, and I intend to take that approach.
So is there anything you feel that we need to touch on that you've not mentioned so far?
Well, it's just my track record, really. I've come from a business background, so I understand the business support side of things that we need to be delivering in terms of bringing all this together. I've shown how an independent politician can go to the national government to unlock more funds. I've been the most successful councillor in the whole of the UK at doing that, with now £132 million unlocked for Ashfield for various regeneration projects. And I've shown that basically going to London with the right justifications, the right projects, is what works, rather than saying, oh, I know somebody whose door I can knock on. Well, actually, going with the right arguments is far more productive at doing that. So I want to take that approach across the whole region, because fundamentally we've been left behind for too long with the funding. If we brought the East Midlands up to the UK average, just the UK average for transport spending, because we've been bottom of the table at this for well over a decade now. But if we just brought it up to the UK average, we would get an extra £1.3 billion per year in the region. And so we need to go and unlock that and show that we've got the projects here to deliver better transport, but also in other areas. We need to be investing in building the right homes in the right places with the proper energy efficiencies. We need to be gearing up with retrofit across the region as well, so that we can have businesses that are able to easily get people's energy bills down, because it's something we need to do as a region, so that we've got more money in people's pockets, but also we're doing our bit for the planet, because we've seen the impacts of climate change. I know a lot of people say it's not coming, but you only need to look at a lot of our areas of our county getting thoroughly flooded under deep water to see that things are changing. And it's only going to get more and more expensive to deal with that the longer and longer we wait to actually play our part in that.
Touching on the flooding, Alderton was hit somewhat badly, and Edwinstone and Leixon area got away quite lightly, but we did get hit with it. But touching that part of the world, jobs are becoming fewer and further between. Is there anything in your remit that would be touching on that?
Well, definitely. I'm keen to make sure that, for instance, we're pushing out super fast broadband into more rural areas, because I think it's right that residents there, but also businesses there, can access those abilities to get online and do business online. And I think that's a way of making sure that rural areas become more attractive as places to actually base businesses, because quite often it's a very appealing place to be as a business out in the countryside, and may well be a nicer place for your works to live as well. So we need to do that, but also we need to get a better business support offering going across the region. There's some brilliant pockets of stuff going on, but at the minute it's very disparate in how it's organised. I know from my own business, when I've been seeking support and investment in the past, that I kept finding new people doing different things, and the combined authority will be able to bring that all together under one place, not taking over any of the offerings, but be a signposting place so that if you need support, you can go there and they will show you exactly what's on offer around the region. But also, once we understand what's on offer around the region, we can see what works well in places and make sure that offering is spread to other areas where it's not currently on offer.
Thank you for joining us.
It's very good to be on, so thank you for having me.
Whoever you choose to vote for, do remember that polls open on Thursday the 2nd of May, and remember to take your ID with you when you vote. The candidates in alphabetical order are Frank Adlington Stringer for the Green Party, Ben Bradley for the Conservatives, Alan Graves for Reform UK, Matt Relf as an Independent, Helen Tamblin Saville for the Liberal Democrats, and Claire Ward for Labour. Madonna and Borderline, it's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio and Fatcham Town Radio 2. Okay, Jenny, explain to me why I'm hearing the Green Chill theme tune.
For those of you that follow Sooty the Solid Radio Cats page, Sooty asked a question this week about children's TV and what do you remember watching as a kid? And she's been absolutely inundated with responses, and a lot of people are actually saying Grange Hill. And I remember Grange Hill myself with Tucker Jenkins.
I don't remember that era of Green Chill, but I do remember when I first went up to high school, I had that theme tune playing around in my head. I've no idea why. No, nothing like Green Chill.
Adele Tully, she's like me. She says she does remember Grange Hill. Now, for me, Mark, I used to like rhubarb and custard. Do you remember? Oh, yes.
Of course. Who doesn't like rhubarb and custard?
Thing is, though, do you know which way ran? Who was rhubarb and who was custard?
Now you're asking the difficult questions. I was asking politicians difficult questions. Now you've asked me the difficult questions. I'm in trouble here.
I want people to get in touch and let me know which was rhubarb and which was custard. Can you tell me? Cheryl Warner, where does she start? She says, rainbow. Oh, my God. Oh, yes, Jeffrey.
Did I get away with saying this is a little before my time?
Oh, no. So not. Catchy, isn't it?
It's alarmingly catchy.
Very catchy. The Sooty Show, Odin Line, I don't know that one. Mind Your Language, Morecambe and Wise. She could go on and... Morecambe and Wise? Is that a kid's show?
It's not really a kid's show.
We'll go with this.
It's the sort of... It's the sort of thing that you might watch as a family with the kids.
Yes.
It's not the sort of thing you put the kids in front of and you went away at it, really.
I've got Daniela Ferry. My favourite childhood show was a Canadian children's television series called Mr. Dress Up, where he would lead the children through a series of songs and stories, arts and crafts and imagination games with the help of his puppet friends and a child named Casey and his dog named Finnegan. Is that like our equivalent to Mr. Ben, where he'd go in the changing room and try on an outfit and then he'd be in that situation?
I guess it sort of is, yes.
Sandra Owens, Saturday Morning Swap Shop. Was that with Noel Edmonds?
That was Noel Edmonds one, yeah.
Vicky Fairweather remembers loads of TV programmes she used to watch as a kid. The Clangers. Remember The Clangers? That's it. Bagpuss. We've got Bagpuss, Magic Roundabout, Campbell-Wick Green. That's going back. Oh, Button Moon.
Button Moon's the only one I'm lost on.
No, Button. Oh, God, Vicky, where we're going. The Herbs, Play School, of course. Fireman Sam, Postman Pat.
Which you got to play the theme tune, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat.
The worrying bit is, when I hear the Postman Pat theme tune, I've heard all the rude renditions of the words for them. I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm talking about the rude renditions of the words. And I get surprised when I hear the clean version. It's Postman Pat and his black and white cat.
Yes. We've got Thomas the Tank Engine. And I used to like, The Worst Witch, The Famous Five, Chucklevision, Art Attack, News Round, Blue Peter. and my parents are aliens. When she says she's mentioned Mr. Ben and Little House, Ivor the Engine. Is that the one that went?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's it. And Louise Mallinson, she remembers Tinker and the Tucker Show, Sooty and Sweep, The Wooden Tops, and Andy Pandy. Wow, that is going back.
Watch with Mother.
Sally Ann Markham Johnson, The Flumps, and Finger Mouse.
And if there's a kids' TV show you think we've not mentioned, do get in touch.
We've got the lot.
On the phones, 01623 888 730. On the text, 073 79 78 49 00. Or email requests at bowradio.co.uk. John Newman, Love Me Again. It's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2, where you have been in touch about kiddies' TV shows. It turns out we've all been watching them as children. And DJ Richie B, which if you don't go around like saying, I'm DJ Richie B with lots of sound effects and things like that, you're doing it wrong. But he's saying the Canadian guy unfortunately died a little while ago. Sorry to hear that. And he also mentioned Bagpuss as well.
The Bagpuss. And Ellie's mentioned something that I totally forgot, but I used to love watching it with my mum. I think it was one of the Watch with Mother ones. It was Mary, Mungo and Midge. I think it was Mary obviously was a little girl, Midge was the dog, and Mungo was the dog and Midge was the little mouse.
I have no idea.
Lived in the top of a high-rise block of flats.
I don't remember it on Watch My Mother because there was one the donkey, and it was Bill and Ben the Flower Pot Men.
Yeah.
I don't remember Midge and
Mary,
all that.
Mungo and Midge.
I think that came a bit later.
Oh, did it? Was it not Watch with Mother?
I don't think it was.
I think DJ Rich better correct me.
Although interestingly, like, you were looking at all these kids' TV shows, and I see that the likes of Blue Pig or Magpie and things like that, you know, all the sort of serious newsy side. Not even John Craven's Newsround hasn't made it onto the list of favourites.
Well, thing is, Blue Peter or Magpie, it was Magpie in our house. My brother used to like Magpie, but we never watched Blue Peter. I didn't like any of them.
Is it just too serious for you?
They're too serious for me.
And on that note, Cheryl's been in touch for a request, hasn't she?
Yes, she has.
Asking for Depeche Mode, Just Can't Get Enough. And if we've got time, we can play a request for you as well. On the phone, 01623 888 730. Depeche Mode, Just Can't Get Enough. And apparently there was more to this request than I mentioned, isn't there?
Yeah, I've been chatting to Cheryl, as you do, and Cheryl says she'd gone into a BP petrol station to get herself a coffee, a posh coffee, as ladies do. Or is it coffee or was it hot chocolate? I think it was a hot chocolate, Cheryl. And she'd come out and this came on full blast. So there she is, hot chocolate in one hand, tapping her fingers on the wheel with the other hand. But she was driving safely. I just need to say that. She was driving safely there.
Also in touch, we've got Vanny from North Vancouver, which is British Columbia in Canada, here to enjoy some music and A Wee Natter. Hello, thanks for joining us. Hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah.
And we've also got another request, haven't we?
Yes, Vicky Fairweather has asked if we could play the Beatles' Live and Let Live.
Let's Let It Be.
Let It Be, even. I said that on purpose. I said that wrong on purpose.
Any particular reason for playing Let It Be?
I don't know, Vicky. It's coming your way anyway.
It's A Wee Natter on Board Radio and Fashion Town Radio 2, where we are always 100% professional. We are literally putting you in charge of the playlist. The Beatles' Let It Be is chosen by Vicky Fairweather, and Jenny's got the full story on that one now.
I had one job, Vicky, just one job. And I got it wrong. Let It Be, sung properly, because Vicky's been humming it all week and she said it'd be a real treat to actually hear it sang properly. So I really hope you enjoyed that, Vicky.
And she says, thank you, it must have been years since I heard this. Your requests will continue in just a moment, but right now we're going to be getting an East Midlands Mayor next week, aren't we?
We are.
And we've been catching up with a few of the candidates. And on the line right now, we've got the Conservative candidate for East Midlands Mayor. It's Ben Bradley. Nice to have you, and thanks for joining us.
No worries at all.
I guess I've got to start with the obvious question. Why do we need this new mayor? And in your opinion, why should it be you?
Well, there's two reasons why we need it. The first is that it's a £4 billion investment in our part of the world, so we need the funding. You really have to look at our roads or our transport infrastructure to see that we need the funding. So that's important. The other one is that this structure is important. So we've had 18 different councils across Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire who do 18 different sets of things, duplicate everything, compete for funding. And actually, by having one shared set of priorities, one clear plan in terms of what it is we want from government or from private sector investors, we can deliver a lot more because we know what it is we're after.
That road topic was, when we opened it up to our listeners and we asked for questions, that was a big one that came up, because I mean, we look at we've got Mansfield Roadhouse down the road here, where you could almost fake the moon landings with the state of the roads there. So what's the actual day-to-day difference you'd get from yourself as East Midlands Mayor versus yourself as head of the county council?
Well, the biggest difference is the Mayor will have 4 times more funding. And I've spent the last few years recognising that this is a huge problem, right? And one that we just can't afford to fix in the current budgets locally. Rather than pointing fingers at other people, I've been to find the funding. I've secured a £1.5 billion transport fund. So that's the difference, right? You're going to have the funding to do this thing and do it properly and to invest massively in the roads. And you said earlier, what do residents get from me as the Mayor? Well, that's top of my list. You will get a massive road resurfacing programme as my first act, really. But significantly, we can also invest in public transport, our buses and trains and how we get around the region. And things like regeneration, I want to make sure that we are bringing business into our town centres, that we're helping to fill those empty shops and to tackle some of these issues that really our current structures just make it really difficult to manage.
You mentioned public transport. One of the hot topics with this being Sherwood is, of course, that Robin Hood extension line that's been promised for ages and ages and ages now. Is that one of the ones that's on your agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one, and there are all sorts of projects like it where we've been trying for a decade or more to get it to happen. But it's not really entirely within our gift. We try and put a business plan together. We try and tick the treasury kind of tick boxes around it all, and then they get to decide. Whereas under this new structure, the Mayor will have much more clout to do the work, to control what it looks like. The problem with the Robin Hood line is Network Rail don't want us really to make a viable business case because it creates loads of work and problems for them. So they've never really worked with us in terms of trying to put something together. So the Mayor can really, change the game in terms of making it more cost effective, looking at more innovative ways of delivering it, joining up the whole transport strategy to make it more meaningful when we do deliver it, linking it into all the tourist hotspots in Sherwood Forest, for example, so you get more bang for your buck, and then we can get it done.
Now, you mentioned that wide geography. The East Midlands Mayor covers, I think it's out to Glossop in the northwest, where you'll be queuing in the mornings to get to Manchester, and you go much further north than where you are here in Sherwood, and you start to look towards Sheffield for your day-to-day stuff. So how do you plan to deliver a sort of joined-up plan when you've got that going on with the geography?
Yeah, well, it's all Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, so it is a big geography. It's 2.5 hours from one corner to the other. But the key thing here is it's not about trying to take all your local stuff in your town up to a regional level. It's about trying to take things that happen currently in London and bring those down to a more local level. So where, for example, in London at the minute, the Department of Transport, they'll decide what the key rail connections are for us as a region, for example. And we want the Robin Hood line, and somebody in Westminster is saying, no, that's not what we want. It's Westminster that gets to decide, whereas under this new structure, it'll be us. So we can make that much more local decision, much closer to your community and to people who know your community, whether you're in the High Peak or you're in Nottingham City Centre.
You're talking about that local input there. Are you looking at some sort of structure like citizens' assemblies or anything like that?
Well, we've got obviously elected councils across the whole region, 18 different ones, too many, some might argue. But we've got people who are there to speak to their communities, who know their communities, and are elected to do that. We need to make sure all those people are in the tent, part of the decision making, so that we are being more local and not, as I say, taking things away and up to a regional level. And equally, there'll be within the decision making structure, there will be space for business, for our colleges, for our universities, for all those kind of stakeholders who are directly involved in the things that the Mayor will deliver. So investment, transport, skills and training, all those spokespeople, all those stakeholders who deliver that across the region need to be in the tent, so we're building something that works.
All right, so it's almost like a figurehead, and the local delivery element still exists as it is today, but under that one direction. Would that be a fair interpretation?
I think it depends who's in charge, but I certainly see it as the Mayor being the chairman of a partnership, effectively, as you described. It's getting everybody who's currently trying to do things in a very complicated system to get around the table and do things together instead, with a shared plan, instead of duplicating everything and competing around everything. And then we can deliver more bang for our buck, along with the £4 billion of extra funding that comes with it. If you get it wrong, if you get a Mayor who feels differently or doesn't know what they're doing, then you could easily build a big, expensive bureaucracy that sits on top of all the other big, expensive bureaucracies, and I don't think that's what anyone wants. So I do think it's really important that we get a Mayor at the end of this, regardless of the political party, who understands what's needed and understands all those partners.
Yeah. I mean, we'll look at it here. This will be effectively a fourth level of local government. But you talk about that £4 billion figure. What sort of time period is that over? Is that yearly? Is that over a 4-year stint? What are we talking there?
It varies. So there is a £1 billion long-term investment fund, which is over 30 years, and that's meant to be kind of seed funding for private investment, really. So you can invest it or match fund things or borrow against it to draw that money forward. But that's long-term certainty for funding, where councils only ever get a 12-month forward look. So it means we can plan for the long term. And then other funding is there's a £1.5 billion transport fund over 5 years, which will be renewed every 5 years. So that's a fourfold increase in our annual transport budget. There's other bits of capital funding, one-off funding for things like broadband or things like retrofitting homes. There's loads and loads of different pots of money, and the Mayor's job is to pull them all together and make a proper strategy out of it.
No, that is fair. And talking about that sort of strategic and the interaction with all the local elements, one of our listeners was concerned that you might get, for example, something that's quite good in Nottingham, the bus service, and in Derby you might get a fantastic library service. They're worried that it'll become more homogenised. What would you say to them?
Well, some of those things, so the libraries, for example, will still be run by councils. All that really local stuff that is about what's in your community, what services delivered in your community, is largely still for those councils to decide. It's really the big strategic stuff, like our transport that connects everything together, like regional investment on a big scale, what inward investment you can bring in from around the world into exciting industries, things that affect more than just your street and your community. That's where the Mayor will hold sway, really. So we've got to plan properly and locally across the region, but we've also got to have a shared strategy so that we can articulate that out to the government and around the world so we can get the investment in. So people don't need to worry about things in their village or town being dragged over to Nottingham or into Derby, because that's not really how this works. It's about being able to add value in whether that is in North Derbyshire or South Nottinghamshire, right? It's what can you add with the funding, with the powers that we've got to make the existing structures and the existing plans work better.
Well, you talk about more of this inward investment. There's the obvious one that's coming from central government, but what sort of other sources are we talking about here? Is there sort of private partnership type stuff going on?
Well, I think we certainly need to attract that private sector investment, and where Manchester and Birmingham have done really well out of this over the last 8 years since they've had mayors, it's not all been, some of it has been, but not all from taxpayers' money. Where they've got this clear structure, if I'm a private sector investor and I've got one person in Andy Street or Andy Burnham in those places as the Mayor to go and speak to, it's much easier to navigate the system, to find that site and find that investment that I want to deliver to create jobs. So the structure helps us to bring that in, and we're already looking at massive investment in clean energy, for example, just as one example. Nottinghamshire is set to be the biggest fusion energy research hub in Europe, with £20-odd billion of investment already lined up for us over the next kind of 15 years. So big opportunities.
Okay, so let's imagine you're the one that gets elected, where every 4 or 5 years on from now, and you're looking back at your time. What's the one thing you want to be saying? I've delivered that, and I'm proud of delivering that.
Well, I think the first and kind of short-term priority is we need to sort the roads out. And as I said, this is a one-off chance, really, to do that with the huge amount of increased funding that we've got to deliver it. So in the first year, I'm going to crack on with a massive resurfacing programme, and residents need to see a really visible, tangible improvement in all of that to be a success. But over the course of the first term, we can certainly work with our bus operators, for example, to improve our routes, to fill the gaps in the bus network, to integrate it with a better ticketing system. There's loads of opportunities in that space, and to build on our investment plans. Like I said, clean energy we've got coming our way, big energy jobs, growth at Rolls-Royce, for example, in Derby. All of these businesses who want to invest and grow, and I want to be creating those exciting job opportunities and the training opportunities for our residents to be able to access all of that.
Well, if you're successful, and in 4 or 5 years' time, we will be checking up with you on your progress on that. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us here on Bo Radio.
That's a problem. Thanks for your time.
Whoever you choose to vote for, do remember that polls open on Thursday the 2nd of May, and remember to take your ID with you when you vote. The candidates in alphabetical order are Frank Adlington-Stringer for the Green Party, Ben Bradley for the Conservatives, Alan Graves for Reform UK, Matt Relf as an Independent, Helen Tamblyn-Saville for the Liberal Democrats, and Claire Ward for Labour. It's a great running song if you're going to go out jogging to. Marillion Incommunicados, A Wee Natter on Bo Radio and Faction Town Radio as well, by the way. And I'm going to put my hands up and apologise there I promise never to do an impression of a proper professional journalist ever again. It was a very bad idea, wasn't it?
It was all right.
I'll tell you that. There you go. You heard from two of the candidates in the East Midlands Mayoral contest. We don't have any more of them on tape, but if they do get in touch, we'll send you the tape on the internet.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll do it that way. And we're going to continue playing your requests and answering the topics that we've been in touch about. And one of them is on cute, fluffy things that you stick in your bed. Who's been in touch on that one?
Miss Fisher said her bedtime companion is Lucky, and Lucky is a beautiful looking cat. Now, if you do follow Sooty the Solid Radio Cats page on Facebook, you'll be able to see the beautiful Lucky.
Oh, are you selling us pictures of it on the internet?
Yeah.
Because that's all the internet's for. It's for pictures of cats,
Pictures of
isn't
cats.
it? And on a slightly different note, playing your requests, we've had Pond Life 21 asking for Bat Out of Hell.
Wow.
I think we might be able to do that one. Unfortunately, we can't play the whole album in one go. That would be a bit much, but we can play the single version from Meatloaf. It's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio, and if you want to hear a song, well, you just have to get in touch. As requested by Pond Life 21, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. It's A Wee Natter on Bow Radio and Faction Town Radio 2, where Jenny just said 3 words to me. Flat pack furniture. What's that all about? Explain yourself.
What it's all about is I always manage to find myself in some really unusual predicaments, I do, Mark.
All right.
Because everybody knows I love my garden, and I'm often seen around garden centres, and I've got a local garden centre to me, and I pop down. I've got quite pally with the people that own the garden centre, and I came in, I looked around thinking I'll just buy myself a little pot plant, as you do. Anyway, I went in and I found him kind of struggling with some flat pack furniture, and he said to me those words that I dread: "Are you any good with flat pack?" I thought, you could not have asked a worse person. I thought, I can't FaceTime Mark because I knew he was on a meeting, so I was going to try and show you all the the instructions that you get that mean absolutely nothing. So we've both stood there. It was like a chair he was trying to put together so he could sit behind the till. So we were looking at this and we both realised we've got the instruction booklet upside down. And I said, why don't we ask somebody that comes in the shop to buy something? It's like, oh, no, they'll make me look, can't do that. They'll think I'm simple, can't do that. And I went, well, I can. I don't mind looking, if people think I look a bit simple, I'll ask. It's like, oh no, you can't. So I thought, I will. Next person that comes in, I'll ask them if they're any good at flat pack. So we're having a go, and I'm holding it up for him, and he's putting stuff in, and I was going, I think the idea is to turn the screw a little bit, don't tighten it up, and then if you've got it the wrong way around, it's easy to get back out again. 3 attempts, but still can't find out why this flat pack furniture ain't going together. Anyway, this guy comes in, and I'm going to ask him, no, you can't. He comes in the shop, before I'd even open my mouth, he's there. Are you any good at flat pack furniture? I kind of looked at him, I thought I was asking. This guy goes, yeah, I do it for a living. And apparently the reason that we couldn't get the 2 pieces together was because the third piece, that is the back of the chair, needed to go on first, and then that held the structure together. So obviously we did a bit of a laugh about it, and then we was a piece missing anyway, so we couldn't construct it. I thought, I came in for a pot plant and I went through agony.
The only bit of flat pack furniture I've ever struggled with in my life was putting a bed together, and that's quite frankly just down to the size of it and trying to wield it and twist it around when you're in a room that's just a little bit bigger than the bed. That's the only reason I've ever had trouble with flat packs. So I hear a story like that and go, oh, well, why are you having trouble with that? And on that note, we're going to keep the request flowing with this one from Hank saying, everybody all right?
Yeah, we're all right, Hank.
Yeah. Is it possible to put on a record from Hot Chocolate, Everyone's a Winner? Well, because you asked so nicely, Hank, we're sticking it on for you. Now, if there's a song you want to hear, get us on the phone 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 49 00, or you can email requests@bowradio.co.uk. Hot Chocolate being very optimistic and saying everyone's a winner. Playing that one for Hank is your requests. If you've got one, do get in touch.
Bow Radio would like to thank all our sponsors. We couldn't be here without you.
Indeed, we have to give special thanks to Property Jane Check Mansfield, Ollerton and Booton Town Council, Arnold Clark Cars, Edwinstowe Parish Council, Essential Site Skills Limited, Notts County Council, Walesby Parish Council, Workshop Freemasons, ABIB Motors Tuxford, and Sherwood Grange Care Centre as well. And the requests keep on coming, including this one, 1975. chocolate.
It's for Ellie. It's for Ellie Merritt because she does love a chocolate Cadbury's button.
And after this one, the Super Sunday Shonky quiz will be making a return. Will you be the brainiac that we're looking for? So 1975 and chocolate, playing that one for Ellie on A Wee Natter. It's Bo Radio and Fashion Town Radio 2.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele on Bo Radio.
That may be the first time Jenny has ever heard that.
That is, yeah.
And she's creasing herself. Yes, indeed, it is the Super Sunday Shonky Quiz. The little thing where we test your general knowledge would be the way to put it. And this week's question: what is the smallest planet in the solar system? And if you've come up with an answer, it might not be the right one, depending on how out of date your answer is.
I'm waiting for Stephen Hall to tell me his.
Yeah, so if you want to give it a shot, give us a call 01623 888 730. You can text 073 79 78 49 00, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk and tell us, what is the smallest planet in the solar system? We're in the mix with Becky Hill and Sonny Fandera singing Never Be Alone.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele on Bo Radio.
So how you doing with our little quiz question?
I'm struggling.
You don't have the correct answer, do you?
Well, me and Stephen Hall, I always wait to see what Stephen Hall says, and I trust him 100%, and we're both we're both going with Earth.
Unfortunately, the wrong answer, but a couple more others of you have been in touch, including Hank with the correct answer, Pun Life 21 with the correct answer, and Vicky Fairweather with the correct answer as well.
And also Cheryl Warner with the correct answer.
So you've still got a bit of time to play. If you want to get in touch, give us a shot. Take a guess at what is the smallest planet in our solar system.
I can't believe it. Stephen's wrong again.
If you think you know, give us a call 01623 888 730. You can also text 073 79 78 49 00, or you can email requests at bowradio.co.uk. And I see on the chat that somebody has mentioned the tricky wrong answer, because that used to be the right answer.
You see, I thought I was going to go with that.
But it's not the right answer anymore. Find out what we're on about after this one from Erasure. It's Blue Savannah on A Wee Natter from Bo Radio and Fashion Town Radio 2.
The Super Shonky Sunday Quiz.
A Wee Natter with Jenny and Mark Steele on Bo Radio.
I love the fact Jenny laughed in time with a clap.
I'm here for the entertainment value, me.
Indeed it is the Super Sunday Shonky Quiz, where we're asking you what is the smallest planet in the solar system. We've had all sorts of answers, including, as Pun Life 21 pointed out, that Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet, so that one is not accurate. If we'd asked you about 10 years ago, it would have been accurate.
See, I was thinking that, but I'm blaming Stephen. He put me on the wrong track. Ellie's not got a clue either. She's joining them. We haven't got a clue, gang.
Do you know what the correct answer is?
Am I allowed to say?
You're allowed to say it.
I'm allowed to say, well, it's Mercury. And Cheryl's just giving me a bit of background. She says that my house points team when I was in my middle school was Mercury. We had 4 planets and I was placed in Mercury, so that's how I knew the answer.
Oh. Does that count as insider information? Is that cheating?
Yeah, I don't know, Cheryl. You haven't been nobbled.
And on that note, whether you got the answer correct or not, we do love to hear from you, don't we?
Yeah.
And we love to play you great songs as well, including this one from Maxi Priest. It's Close to You from Wee Natter on Bo Radio. When's the last time you heard that one? Probably sometime around the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Max and Breeze, Close to You. It's a Wee Natter on Bo Radio and Fashion Town Radio 2, where I went with myself and Jenny, went into Mansfield earlier today, and we just saw a sea of blue and yellow. Explain what it was all about, Jenny.
I did, yeah. I totally forgot. The Mansfield Football Club
Mansfield Town,
Football Club. I always get football right round my neck. They had an open-top bus tour today. Now, the day here started off absolutely slinging it down, so we were thinking, is it going to go ahead, is it not? But it turned quite brighter later on, and we're driving into Mansfield, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, of course, all these sea of people all across the streets, and we realised that they were obviously doing this tour on an open-top bus because they had got automatic promotion to League One, and I just want to say congratulations to them, really.
Well, I suppose we better do that as a local football club, and
Yes,
we suppose we better pass the congratulations on, although I'll be honest with you, I haven't picked a football team yet.
No.
Now, you see, when I have trouble picking a hometown because I moved around so much as a kid, never mind a football club. So if you have any recommendations, do get in touch, dear listener. And on that note, that's about it for A Wee Natter, unfortunately. We do it every week, but they only let us have a couple of hours. It is the way of the world. But you can catch up on demand on Mixcloud and on YouTube as well later. But I'm going to ask one thing. Is that when you're going about doing your day-to-day business and you bump into the checkout operator and they're going, the total's £20.52. I want you to turn around and go, oi, no. Hold on a minute. Wee Natter, Bow Radio, stick it on 7 o'clock at night and we want to see you there.
Yeah, defo.
I want to see somebody actually do that in real life and see what happens. I suspect what would happen is the checkout operator would just stare at them with a blank face. And on that note, we are going to play you out with this one from Blue. It's One Love from Wee Natter.
Yeah.